Welcome to the CAD Builder video tutorial series. In this video, we will take a look at how we can price design options separately. The pricing method you choose will set the base price of each cabinet. The design option price will be added to that base price in order to calculate the extended price. Each additional price will depend on what pricing structure you choose for that particular item. Today we will take a look at some examples to get a better understanding of how to apply these to your cabinets. For a quick example, if I have a pricing table that sets the base price by the cabinet linear foot, then I can go to my construction method. Let's say I would like to add an additional charge for framed cabinets. Here I could add, say, $15 per linear foot for base and wall cabinets and $20 per linear foot for tall cabinets to account for additional face frame work. Let's open up the design options to see the types of items that we can apply an upcharge to. As you can see, we have the construction methods, to material assignments, to the door and drawer constructions, to the knobs, pulls, and legs. Each of these has the potential to add some type of upcharge to the cabinet base price, which is determined by your pricing method. Your pricing method could be a calculated price, or it can be the list price, or a modified price that you determine. We can see those base prices here in the bill of materials, which in turn will be used for the base price in the reports. So we'll start by taking a look at the construction method, and for example, let's say I'm using framed construction with standard overlay, but would like to show a higher price for framed with inset. For the standard overlay, I could set the price per linear foot to $200 per linear foot for the base cabinets, then the wall cabinets to $150 per linear foot, and the tall cabinets to $300 per linear foot. Then, for the framed with inset, I could set these a little higher at, say, $250 per linear foot for the base cabinets, $200 for the wall, and $350 for the tall cabinets. These will be added to the pricing by the construction method that is chosen. Next, you have the drawer box construction method. For this example, we could set the pricing to $100 per square foot, which refers to the face of the drawer box by multiplying the width times the height of that subfront. Let's take a quick peek at the customer report to make sure those new prices are getting applied to our cabinets. I've placed one 18-inch wide base, one 18-wide wall, and one 18-wide tall cabinet in the design so that we can see an example of each. We'll open up the reports, select the customer report, and check out the design options pricing calculations as you see here. Since each cabinet is 1.5 feet wide, it will calculate each of those according to the charge we added. For example, we set the base cabinet at $200 per linear foot, so 1.5 feet times $200 gives you $300 for that cabinet. Then we'll add to that the price for the wall and tall cabinets, which now gives us a total upcharge for these at $975. Next, you have your cabinet material assignments as well as your drawer box, door, hinge, and guide material assignments that you can also add pricing to. First, depending on what material you will be using, you will need to set up your material cost, which is in this common section on the right-hand side in your materials properties. Here is where you will set your unit, the cost, and if you would be adding anything for markup or taxes. Once you have that set, open the material assignment section and select the cabinet or drawer box. For this example, I'll select the drawer box category and select the birch plywood drawers. Below, you will see the design options pricing dropdown where you can select none, construction upcharge, or material cost percentage. So maybe you would keep the birch plywood drawers set to none, but if maple hardwood drawers is selected, you could apply an upcharge due to using a more expensive material. The construction upcharge will create a charge as a percentage of the construction method upcharge. So for example, I'll select the maple hardwood drawers, which is currently set to a construction upcharge of 15%. This will take the drawer box construction method cost and multiply it by 0.15 and add this charge to the price of that cabinet. Now for the cabinet construction, I may want to keep the melamine cabinets at no upcharge, so I would just leave the pricing option at none. Then I could set the birch plywood cabinets to a 10% construction upcharge due to the additional expense. And since the oak option would be even a little more expensive, we could charge a 20% construction upcharge if this was the preferred selection. We can also add design options pricing for our door front and door construction methods. So once we open up the door module and select one of the types in the middle, on the right-hand side, you'll see several options available for options pricing, starting with none, then per cabinet, per door, or per square foot. The most common pattern is the per square footage of the door. For example, we could add $20 per square feet for a slab door, and then, since a 5-piece door is more difficult to make, we may want to set this at $40 per square foot. Along with this, we could add an upcharge by the type of material that is used as well. So if we go back to the material assignment, select door, here we could add one upcharge for paint grade doors, and then a higher upcharge for the stained grade doors. Hinge assignments would typically be set to a material cost percentage so that you can charge something for every hinge that you will need to bore for as well as install. So for example, we could set this at 175% of the material cost of that hinge, and that will be applied according to the cost you have set for those hinges in your materials section, as you see here under the common section in materials properties on the right. Similarly with guides, we can apply an upcharge per drawer guide pair or as a material cost percentage. Again, be sure that you've set up your cost in the materials section for the guides you are using in your design, just like we did for the hinges. Here we could set this at 150% as an example. Next are the finishes, where we can also add an additional upcharge depending on what finish is selected. I'll select one of the wood finishes, and under pricing you will see 3 different options. We can add a cost per door or drawer, per linear foot, or per square foot. For example, we could add an upcharge of $15 per linear foot for a birch light finish, but maybe $22 per linear foot for a cherry finish. And then if a paint is selected, maybe only charge $10 per linear foot. Back to the materials section, towards the bottom are the knobs and pulls. We would set up our material cost in the common section under the properties on the right. This is what it costs your shop to get the materials. Then right below that are the types of upcharges that we can apply, whether we'd like to set those up to charge per cabinet, per door or drawer, or per knob. For my design, I'll be using the bar pull number 5, so I'll add the cost here of $10 and then add an upcharge per knob and set that to $15 for our design today. 2 items below the knobs and pulls are the legs. Here is where you can add an additional cost for your cabinet legs. For this example, I'll select the Bunfoot 1 and we'll add a material cost for each leg at $10. Then in the section below that, we will set our design options pricing to per leg and set the value at $15 so that it will add an additional cost of $15 per leg to our reports. Now we'll go back to our design and apply these settings in our design options. So starting with the construction method, I'll select the My Framed Butt Joint Standard Overlay option, My Dovetail Drawer Box for the drawer box construction, setting the finish to Birch 1.219, cabinet material assignment to the birch plywood cabinets, drawer box material assignment to maple hardwood drawers, and door material assignment to stained grade doors. Hinges assignment to the Bloom Clip framed overlay, guides assignment to Bloom Movento full extension. Both lower door construction and upper door construction will be set to sample shaker door 5-piece, drawer front construction to MDF slab drawer, both door and drawer knobs to bar pull number 5, cabinet legs to bund foot 1, and lastly, I'll set the pricing method to linear foot pricing and hit apply to save these to the current design. Let's take a look at the customer report and see how these design option costs have been applied to the pricing of our current project. We'll open up the customer report and scroll to the second page titled Default Design Options. First item we see listed is the construction method, which we had looked at previously and found to be $975 total for the cabinet upcharges. Then the drawer box construction, currently set to $100 per square foot, pertaining to the subfront of the drawer box, which equals $27. Next is our finish, where we decided on $15 per linear foot. Since each cabinet measures 18 inches across the front, and we have 3 cabinets, our total is 4.5 feet at $15, gives us $67.50. Sample birch plywood is the material we selected for the cabinets, and since this was set to none, we are showing no additional upcharge for this option. However, we chose the maple hardwood for our drawer box material, so this did add 15% to the cost of the drawer. Since we used stained grade doors, we added a 20% upcharge, adding $13.22. For our hinges, there was an additional 175% of the material cost, which came out to $87.50, and the drawer guides, we are charging $37.50, which is 150% of the $25 that we are charging per pair of drawer guides. Since our door construction was set to the 5-piece doors, it added an additional $40 per square foot, as you see here. We have one drawer front, which added $10.60. Then for the pulls, we added $15 per pull, which gave us an additional fee of $75. And lastly, we added cabinet legs to the tall cabinet at $15 per leg, so this added $60 to our total. At the bottom, it will take the base price of each of the cabinets we have in our drawing, add all of the upcharges from the design options, and then our total per cabinet is shown as the extended price here. This concludes our review of how to add pricing for design options within your design. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. For more video tutorials, please visit our website at www.cabbuildersoftware.com/training. Thank you.